Good morning. I'm Vanessa Goodson from the Office of the Governor, Economic Development and Tourism. I'm here to introduce our next panel, which is going to be business regulations. And we have Carla James here with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. Carla James is the Deputy Executive Director, and she's the second in charge of the agency. And she's a proud public servant of 25 years. You're welcome to give her a round of applause for that. Great. So she's actually out of Austin, and she's here to speak to us on her different programs that she has to offer. Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I hate it when I'm speaking at a conference and everybody goes, and we were Texans, we're friendly, right? So I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking to y'all about what our agency does and what we find important about licensing professions in the state of Texas. We license 39 professions in this state that run the gambit, from tow truck drivers to elevator operator inspectors to midwives. I know that sounds weird, but we cover everything. And so as Vanessa said, I work for TDLR, and people in Austin are tired of hearing me say this, but I don't really get away from my job because my husband is licensed by me, my father-in-law is licensed by me, and my mother-in-law is licensed by me. So there is some really interesting dinner conversations, and they have a direct line to customer service every time they invite me to dinner. So it's an interesting dynamic. 39 professions with over 800,000 licensees in the state. Now it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but I want to assure you that we don't license things that are not supposed to be licensed. And by that I mean we are pro-business. Our biggest thing that we're trying to achieve every day is to get folks licensed that the legislature thinks needs to be licensed, and to get those licenses out quickly so that people can work. I cannot imagine a situation where we would take 3 or 4 months to license someone. That's unacceptable. So generally speaking, our licensees will apply for their license, most of them online. We're still working on some of that. And we can get a license out of our door in 10 days, sometimes 7. And we try to reduce that number every day. We have some core values in our agency. Innovation is one of them, so we are attempting to use innovation every day to reduce any weight that anyone has. It's not our role to stand in the way of business. It's our role to get out of the way of business. And we take that very seriously. One of our mantras is we've been helping small business and consumers since 1909. Now we do have an enforcement side to that, an inspections enforcement. And that's important as well, because public safety is a key component of our business model. We don't want someone going in to have their nails done at a nail salon and someone using dirty instruments. That's not acceptable. So there's a big component of health as it relates to our business model as well. And so we have inspectors all over the state that come into the businesses and do inspections. And anybody who's found out of compliance, we take it to our enforcement division, and they start working with these companies to get back in compliance. Sometimes we have to fine them. That's not our preference. We'd rather get them back in business, having clean supplies, so that they can earn a living. And let's face it, like the governor said, you all earning a living is allowing us to keep the government going for you, to build roads, to make sure that there's health care out there, all of the things that we depend on as citizens of the state of Texas. But sometimes we take it for granted a little bit. I'll be driving into Austin, which takes 7 hours, it seems like some days. But I was speaking with a lady before the conference started, and she said, y'all's traffic woes out here are a lot worse than ours. And I believe that's probably very true. But I have cursed TxDOT on the way into work on a couple of occasions. So I'm with you. I'm on your side as well. And everything that I do in my job as Deputy Executive Director generally comes from a taxpayer's perspective. Government waste is not something I can really tolerate, and haven't for 25 years. So I'll get off my soapbox about that. So as I said, our attempt is to get folks licensed quickly and let you go about your business. It's not our job to stand in your way. So much so that we hold strategic planning sessions once every 2 years. State agencies are required by law to do this. But we hold them, and we go around the state and ask folks like you, what do you think? What do you think we should be doing better? If you were king or queen for a day, what would you have us do? And a lot of times we'll hear, don't charge any fees. Well, we would love to do that, but the legislature tells us to do some of this stuff. That's the old kick the can. My boss told me to do it. Don't tell anybody I said that, even though this is being filmed, I'm pretty sure. But we go in and we ask those questions because we want your opinion on this. We could sit on high in Austin, right next to the governor's mansion, so we got a pretty good neighbor, and just say, okay, well, we know what's good for you. We know exactly what you need, so we're just going to do it. And that's not the way we run our business. You hear me say business over and over again. We have a business model. We run it like a business. We don't want to run it like a bureaucracy. That's not how we're supposed to do it. And so we take comments, and then we take them back and we start looking at them. We got over 8,000 comments this year. We went to 5 cities. We went to McAllen, El Paso, Houston, Arlington, and Austin, and got comments from just about every industry and profession that are regulated by our agency. And now we're going through them and we're implementing them. And some of the ones say deregulate us. And if we get enough of those comments, we take it to the legislature as part of our strategic plan and say, legislature, we heard from Texans that they don't think this needs to be regulated. So we're recommending to you that you examine that and look at it. We don't lobby for anything, that's not our place. But we do tell the legislature what the general populace is saying to us. So I think that is a bit different than most Texans are accustomed to. But we do listen. We're not just sitting up there doing whatever we please. And that's an important role for us. We go by core values in our agency. We have 7 of them. I'm pretty sure I'm going to forget one of them because I'm standing up here, so I have a little cheat pad. But one of them is innovation. And as I said, we're always trying to find new ways to do business inside of our shop so that you have an easier role and experience with us. We have respect. We have respect for every Texan. We have to. We license 800,000 licensees who touch the lives of 25 million Texans. That's an important thing to remember. 800,000 touches 25 million, and we remember that every day. So we have to respect the businesses that are licensed by our agency because they touch the entire state. As I said when I started, we've got just about everything under our umbrella. In fact, we used to be called the umbrella agency, and we remember that. Innovation, as I said, customer service, huge for us. We have a group of 50 customer service agents that take in about 2,000 calls a week and answer about 500 to 600 emails a week. Just general questions about licensing. But those are questions that have to be answered, and they're very important because these are the folks like you trying to get licensed and just get out there and do your business. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm pretty sure I'm probably the only person who stays up at night reading statutes and rules. Just guessing y'all don't do that. If you do, let's talk afterwards. You may want a job with me or a name of a good counselor. Integrity, that's a big one for me. As I said, I've been with state government 25 years. We take the job of state public servants very seriously, and we have to be filled with integrity to do that. We have a huge job that's given to us and trusted to us, and we have to do it with integrity. Open and free communication. I was just talking about our strategic planning process. That's what we consider open and free communication. We're not just going to sit there and pretend like we know what you're talking about. I'm probably the most experienced person in the agency that knows what business is talking about because I'm surrounded by licensees. But luckily for the rest of our employees, they get to go home and talk about other things besides licenses at night. So that open and free communication is very important because they're not going home and listening to what the general populace wants. So we have to ask you. I've worked at a number of state agencies in the regulatory side in state government. This is the first agency I've ever worked at where we ask what you think. Most agencies say, well, it's a law. Doesn't matter what they think. Well, you as a Texan might not like that law. And if we heard you say that, we can go to the legislature and say, this chunk of the state really is uncomfortable with what we are saying that we have to do because it's in the law. Will you consider a modification of that? So that open and free communication is very, very important. And then accountability. I know everybody is probably burned out for people not taking accountability for their actions. We see a lot of that these days. But when we make a mistake at TDLR, we own it. And then we try to learn from it because we don't want to make that mistake again. It's really important that we move forward, not backwards. So I've talked about the 39 programs. I'm going to give you a little bit of stats that, if you're not a numbers person, your eyes are just going to glaze over. So just get ready if you're not a numbers person. We've got 809,000 licensees. That's about a 600% increase over the last 10 or 15 years. That's because Texas is growing so rapidly and because the legislature has looked at some industries and said, we've got some danger in those areas. Let's shore that up a little bit. We save people money too. We pride ourselves in reducing fees. I have worked at agencies that are proud of raising fees. We deposit this much money into the general revenue fund. Well, that sounds great as a state agency, as a taxpayer. That makes me insane. Lower the fees. If you're putting money back into the checking account where it's not needed, what are you doing? So when we lower fees, it keeps the money in your pockets. That's where it needs to stay. I think, $16 million in fees lowered over the last 10 years across all different types of licensees. And again, that's not money going into the state coffers if we weren't lowering it for you. That's money staying in your pocket so that you can expand your business, so that you can hire more people, so that you can move into other areas of the state. And as Governor Abbott said, small business is 98% in this state of our business. You can't grow if we keep charging you too much. So we're very cognizant of that and very proud of it. As far as making licenses easier to get, we try to remove hurdles. We, in the last 4 years, have been given a number of programs from a number of different agencies. And some of them were very, very heavy in send a big chunk of paper in, sign here 12 times, take a test, give us your firstborn child, all kinds of things that are really unnecessary. Take a state test after you just took the national test that's certified by the whole country. So we sit back and we go, 2 tests? You take a national test that the whole nation is okay with, but then we want you to come take a special Texas test? Let's be honest about this. I hate taking tests. I was horrible at it. You give me the chance to give you an essay where I can talk until my eyes fall out, I'm great. Taking a test, forget about it. That's unfair to those people. They've already passed a national test. Why in the world would we create a Texas test for them to take? And so we have some professions out there that were taking 2 tests and had to pass both of them just to get licensed to do their job. It's stupid. So when we looked at it, we said, okay, you passed this national test. We're good. Good enough. We started getting calls. Are you sure? I don't want to lose my license. Doesn't sound right. We're sure. Don't worry about it. And those extra reams of paper you had to send to us, we don't want it. Don't spend the money on the paper, the postage, and your time. Don't do it. So we're trying to find ways to make sure that Texans are safe and there's proper regulation without being so heavy on you guys. And if you think about it, if we're asking you to be heavy on stuff, then we're just doubling our workload as well and slowing the process down. Because state agencies, we don't just determine, hey, you know what, I need 20 more people, I'm just going to hire them. It doesn't work like that. The legislature tells us how many people we can hire. We have a cap on our employment for each state agency. So we don't want to over-regulate you any more than you want to be over-regulated. It's just not logical. A lot of our professions have those testing that I talked about. Well, when we inherited some of them, everybody had to drive to Austin to do it. And I've been all around this state for many years, and my favorite part of the state is West Texas, and I'm not telling you that because I'm here. As soon as I retire, I'm selling everything and moving to Big Bend. And you can ask anybody I work with, they're like, yeah. And I can tell you what day they're leaving. Picking up my husband in a Winnebago with the dogs, and we're out of there. But I know a lot of folks in the state of Texas think, oh, Austin, they know. They think they know everything. They think they know what they're doing. I don't blame you for thinking that. It's an easy thought to have. So why in the world would we want you to come into Austin to take a test? That doesn't make any sense. So we started doing testing around the state. We have a company that does the testing for us. And so there's 22 locations around the state that you can do testing now. That's important to us. Don't make it harder than it has to be. And you think about that and you're like, well, duh, that makes perfect sense. But in organizations, sometimes it's not that easy for folks to go, yeah, that is stupid. That's something we try to do every day. And with folks like me going, I don't want to pay for my husband's license to be more, and I don't want to listen to my in-laws complain. So let's fix this. It helps. We're all of the same mindset. So as we know, Texas is growing by leaps and bounds, and we're getting a lot of different languages in the state. So part of our customer service, we provide different languages now, so that those businesses where the primary language is not English can grow as well. Because as the governor said, small business is small business. They all pay taxes. So that's part of us trying to accommodate the different types of demographics that we're seeing in the state. Something very important to our agency is veterans. We do a lot of extra effort to accommodate veterans above and beyond what is required in this state and what the governor's office is interested in us doing. And we do that for two reasons. One, it's the right thing to do, and two, it's the right thing to do. It just is. They have stood in the face of death for us. The least we can do is provide them a little bit of guidance and some discounts to ensure that they have the same ability to open a business and keep it running as anyone else, and better. So we're very, very proud of that. In fact, a couple of months ago, some of our efforts the governor tweeted out, and you should have seen us. We're all jumping around like jumping beans, having the best time because of a tweet. But it's important to us because we're so excited about the efforts that we do for veterans. They have discounted costs, sometimes waived costs, and we expedite their applications. I followed the process the other day through our agency. Went to the mailroom, went down to licensing, and just as an FYI, when I show up in divisions, everybody's like, oh my God, the deputy's here. I'm like, I just want to watch something. Am I in trouble? No, the deputy's here. I just want to follow something. The mail people freaked out when I showed up. Where do the veterans applications go? Right here, and we put a blue thing on top of it. Okay, settle down. But we mark them specifically as veterans when they come in the door so that we can move them through the process faster. And we do that for veteran spouses as well. Are you getting close to me because I'm going over 10 minutes? Okay. I was like, I won't talk 10 minutes. I'll give extra time, which is notorious for me. So to wrap up for you, don't think that TDLR is your quintessential state agency. We get a bad rap sometimes as state employees, but we're servants and we take that very seriously. And we are here to help you get up and running faster and do whatever we can to make sure that we're not standing in your way We're either standing with you or pushing you from behind to get you moving and ready to make money and be a good taxpayer.